So you would ask, what happens after the Pope dies? Will the church not have a Pope? What is the process of electing a new Pope? That is why I'm here today. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Happy Easter. How are you all doing? Hope you're having a beautiful celebration. So welcome back to my channel. This is MDL Space. My name is Chinonte Rohubie, a mom of two, and I share everything about lifestyle, motherhood, and a little bit of mental health and every other thing in between. But for today's vlog, I am doing something different from my usual kind of vlog. I'm not talking about me, my children, my family, or interviewing anybody today. I want to give a detailed information on the recent happening currently in the world, and it's about Pope Francis. God rest his soul. I am a Catholic by birth, and I'm also a Catholic by choice. Yes. I want to talk about death of Pope Francis, and also I want to go into details on how the new Pope will be selected. I know a number of us don't have any idea of how a new Pope is selected. I myself, I had no knowledge of it. I only I only heard rumors that I know cardinals are supposed to assemble in Rome, and something is going to happen in a certain place, and then a smoke is going to come out, and then they tell the world that we have a new pope. But the full details of the process, I didn't have an idea of it. So after hearing of his death this morning, I decided to say, okay, why not just make a research and share this information with other Catholics and any other person who really wants to know what happens in the Catholic Church, because I am a Catholic and I feel like it's right for we to know how we elect a new pope in the church. So join me on today's education. Should I call it education? Well, join me on today's discussion. We woke up to the news that we had lost Pope Francis today. Today being the 21st of April 2025, Easter Monday. May God rest his soul and grant him eternal rest. He has been a pope for 12 years. He died at the age of 88. This already is a common knowledge if you're a Catholic. So I feel like this is an intro. So it's a common knowledge. He died at the age of 88, and as we heard from the Vatican, we heard he died of double pneumonia, which is what he was diagnosed. Around February, March, he had a severe complication and he was diagnosed of double pneumonia, which is what he was being treated of up until his death. Um, as at yesterday, which was Easter, he came out, he made an appearance, although against the advice of the medical team, but he came out to give the Easter blessing and bless his people. So, in my opinion, I feel like he just knows that his time is up, or he just felt that okay, I think it's just my time. So instead of me just locking myself up in the room and my people are praying for me and they've not seen me in months, maybe I should just go and give them the final blessing, say my last goodbye, and then join my maker. So I feel like that's what he did yesterday, and it's so noble of him, or it was so noble of him. Now that we know a little bit about his death, the aim of this video is not to talk about his death really. I want to discuss in details the process of selecting a new pope. So you would ask, what happens after the pope dies? Will the church not have a pope? What is the process of electing a new pope? That is why I'm here today. So I'm here today to discuss what happens after the pope dies. So the pope died today, and it's expected that within 15 to 20 days that a new pope is elected. Now, sometimes this election can take more than this number of days. And if it's going to take more than this number of days, after this number of days, a day of prayer is declared while they continue the process. So you are wondering, this process that this woman has been talking about, what is the process really? Don't worry. Some people already have the mindset that Catholics or Catholic Church is like a secret cult because everything is secret. Now, before we go fully into the process of election of a new Pope, I would like us to talk about the burial of the Pope, or the burial of the Pope, yes. So, the Pope or Popes traditionally are buried in three coffins. The first one is a cypress coffin, and this cypress coffin is made up of cypress wood, which signifies humility and ordinariness. This is to show that the Pope is a human, like every one of us. It also contains a summary of what the responsibilities and work of the Pope. The second coffin is the lead coffin. The lead coffin contains the number of years the Pope served, It is durable. It also contains a skull and a bone. I'm sorry, I'm laughing about the skull because I know that some people already say that the Catholics we have a modern way of doing it. There's a crossbone, there's a skull, number of years of his pontificate, that's number of years he served as a pope, and also the pope's name. The last one, the oak or the elm coffin. The elf coffin is the outer part. Sorry, I forgot to mention that the cypress is in the middle, while the elm or the oak is the outer part of the coffin. This emphasizes on the dignity of the pope. This oak or elm coffin, it's a rare precious wood in Italy. So yeah, that is how, or this is the coffin where the Pope is buried. Now let's go into the main gist of the day. Don't go anywhere. I'm sure this will interest you. With the death of Pope Francis, attention is turned to the selection of his successor. So how is this done? The next pope is chosen in what is called a conclave. Now, a conclave is a Latin word which simply means a room that can be locked up. Simply put, a locked up room or a closed room. Members of the College of Cardinals will gather to ensure that they elect a new pope. Remember, I said in the beginning that from the death of the new pope, between 15 to 20 days, a new pope is supposed to be elected, right? And if these days are exceeded, they will declare a day of prayer while they continue the process. Now, this process is just an election like every other election, just that this election is not done in a public place, it's done in the conclave. That is why that's why when there's an election of a pope, the word conclave becomes very rampant. College of Cardinals would gather in the Vatican in a chapel called the Sistine Chapel in Vatican. So this is where they are going to gather in that room that is locked, which is called the conclave. So I'm trying to emphasize this so that you understand the meaning of each word. Now, when this College of Cardinals gather, there's no ritual done. They would select the most qualified cardinals, and these cardinals are supposed to be a certain age range. For a cardinal to be picked as a pope elect, he has to be below 80 in order to be eligible. So what that means is that if cardinals are above 80, you won't be chosen. And if I'm not mistaken, currently in Nigeria we have about 3 cardinal. I know one was just elected, so I don't know the chances of us, getting that opportunity to have a Nigerian or an African pope. However, Pope Francis was the first Latin American pope. There's something called a general congregation of cardinals. This is when all cardinals gather to discuss the issues facing the church. This also enables all cardinals from across the globe to gather and get to know each other, because there's rarely an opportunity for all cardinals to gather if not for the election of a new pope. When this general congregation happens, there's a discussion of the challenges the church faces, and also networking, if I should say, of the cardinals to know each other. But this can be time for politicking. And politicking in the past could be, bribing your fellow cardinal or telling them, vote for me, so that I will become the next pope. Yes, it happens everywhere. Politics is everywhere, really. It's not just in the government body. So yes, politics is everywhere, even in the church. Now, when the cardinals finish their general congregation, they begin to march into the Sistine Chapel in Vatican. And as they march, they sing the Latin hymn, Come Holy Spirit. This is an act of invoking the Holy Spirit for the procedure which they are about to start, asking the Holy Spirit to come and take its place in order to direct them and help them to make the right choice of a new pope, seeing that is going to be the number one figurehead of the whole Roman Catholic Church. So it is very important they invoke the Holy Spirit. After they file into the Sistine Chapel, the master of the papal liturgical celebration will chant in Latin loudly, Extra Omnes, which means everyone out. I'm smiling because I feel like this is a very beautiful process, and I really wish it's filmed, or I could go and film it. So he screams Extra Omnes, which means everyone out, and then every other person goes out except the cardinals, and then the doors of the Sistine Chapel will go closed and they begin the ritual. They begin the process. It's not a ritual. So now the voting process in proper. Now, after all the cardinals have assembled into the Sistine Chapel, 9 cardinals will be picked out to run the election process, where 3 of them will be scrutinized. So the work of the scrutinizers is to examine the ballot box, and after writing down the names of their choosing candidates. So those out of those 9, the remaining 6, where 3 are scrutinized, the remaining 6 will now write out the names of their chosen candidates. They would bring the ballots to the front of the chapel and place it in front of the scrutiners while the ballot process begins. When a cardinal now comes to cast his vote, this is what he says: I call as my witness Christ the Lord, who will be my judge, that my vote is given to the one who before God I think should be elected. I feel this process is so divine, and I so wish I could go to cover it. I feel like it's so beautiful. I'm just imagining it in my head. A new pope is elected by 2/3 of the majority. If the majority is not met by this first ballot, the ballots will be burnt in a stove, and a black smoke will be sent out through the Sistine Chapel. This is to signify every other person or the world that the process is still ongoing. This is a tradition that started during Benedict the 15th in 1914. And for this black smoke to be achieved, at times a chemical additive is added to it in order to ensure that the smoke is really dark or black, because there was a little confusion of the color of the smoke during the election of Pope John Paul II. So this is why they started adding the chemical additive to be sure that it's a black smoke that is being sent out when the 2/3 majority is not met during the first ballot while the process continues. So you see, it's not a small journey for the cardinals. It's not an easy period for the cardinals. It is really, really taxing, and a lot of strength from God is required in this time. Once a candidate receives enough votes, then he's been asked, do you accept your canonical election of the Supreme Pontiff? By answering accepto in Latin, which means I accept, he becomes the new leader of the Catholic Church. And once this is done, a white smoke is now being sent out from the Sistine Chapel to still once again announce to the people that you now have a new pope. Immediately after being elected, the new pope then decides or picks a new name of which he will be addressed. So, Pope this or Pope that. Fingers crossed. We now have a new pope. We've announced it with a white smoke. What is the next process? The new elected pope goes into a room which is called Room of Tears. This is a section in the Sistine Chapel where the new pope is being taken into. In this room, he's now going to take time to ponder on his new responsibility, on the burden which he has been saddled with to become the new pope of the Roman Catholic Church. And in most cases, this brings tears to the new pope's eyes. Hence, they gave the name of the room Room of Tears. Is Catholic Church not sweet? Is it not divine? Then the new pope goes on to put on his white cassock and other signs of his office. Once this new pope is being elected, his election will then be announced from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. The pope comes through the balcony and gives his first papal blessing to his people, and a new pontificate begins. Isn't this amazing? I didn't even go into full details of this process, but these are like the key things that happened during the election of a new pope. And it brings me so much joy to give you this education or this information, because I know some Catholics had no idea of how this, even I myself, I had no idea. But I decided to do this research today and share it with you because I am MDel Space. Alright, thank you if you have watched till this time. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and most importantly, I would like you to share this video today as you're just finishing it. Please share it because it's going to help someone learn something new about the Catholic Church. I hope you took away something from this video. Thank you for joining me on today's, should I say episode? On today's round. See you some other time. I love you and thank you for sticking with me on this ride.